Hi everyone, this is the new round liquid splash assembly by Shmakov, which allows for the easy creation of customizable splashes inside of Modo. I'll go through the settings as I edit the splash scene that comes with the assembly. First, with the schematic window open, add the round liquid splash assembly. Although it's not necessary, in the item list it can be useful to drag the splash item below any other items or folders you have, so that when it is expanded, it's easier to see only the assembly objects. The splash item also includes a material, so there's no need to create one manually unless you want to. Back in the item list, let's add preset curves to the schematic view. These curves can be used to generate the initial splash shape. Just shift-click to select them all and drag and drop into the schematic window. Two nodes will already be connected so that you can see a splash and respective drops, but you can disconnect these and connect up any of the others. Connecting up any of these 6 other nodes will show you the curve that makes up the splash or drops for each. Each preset curve has its own shape. To create a custom splash, first copy a curve from any of the existing liquid nodes A to D and paste it into the liquid new node, and then copy the drops from one of the existing drop nodes A to D and paste it into the drop new node. The curve can be edited to create a custom shape for the splash using the curve control points. Bear in mind that the 2 endpoints need to stay in position. If the endpoints are shifted, the shape of the splash will be incorrect and the radius specified in the settings will not be accurate. Once you've finished and are happy with your curve shape, the liquid and drop new nodes can be connected up to the assembly so that the results of the editing can be seen on the mesh. If you're not completely satisfied with the results, you can either disconnect the liquid node from the assembly and edit the curve as before, or use curve editing in the settings menu. Just click on the blue locator circle to open the settings menu and check the curve editing box in the main tab. You can then click on the relevant node and continue editing. When you've finished editing, click on the blue locator again and uncheck the curve editing option in the settings menu. The mesh will appear showing the new splash shape. In this manner, you can move back and forth between editing the curve and displaying the mesh to see the results. Okay, that's looking good. Now let's connect up one of the presets again and have a look at more settings. You can change the locator size to suit. Smoothing enables or disables smoothing of the mesh. The Optimize Curve parameter optimizes the points on a curve. It's best to keep this on when using a B-spline, otherwise the edges of the mesh may become too distorted. If you're using a Bezier curve, you don't need to have the Optimize Curve option switched on. In fact, the mesh may look better if you leave it off. The radius setting controls the inner radius of the splash. The top setting increases the height of the splash, and the bottom setting changes the outer radius of the mesh. The segments parameter allows you to increase or decrease the amount of segments in the mesh. More segments will mean a more detailed splash, but this will also slow down the assembly speed. With the merge option, you can merge the vertices at the edge of the mesh, which can help you achieve better looking results. The reduce parameter allows you to make the mesh less dense, but still maintain the appearance of the splash. The thickness parameter is responsible for the thickness of the splash. A large thickness will mean you also need to adjust the shift and inset parameters in the Edge tab. The various parameters in the Bend tab control the bend and fall off of the splash. While the options within the Noise tab add noise to the mesh, which makes the splash shape more realistic. The general noise of the mesh can be enabled or disabled with the Including Edges checkbox. If you're using a B-spline, it is best to switch this on, and if you're using a Bezier, you can switch it off. Experiment with the different settings in this tab to achieve your desired results. Within the Edge tab, the Shift parameter deepens the splash mesh without affecting the edges, while the Inset parameter pulls the mesh inwards, making the edges wider. Using the Shift and Inset parameters together allows you to create edges with more expression. You can also smooth out the edges to find a good compromise between a noisy and smooth shape. The various options in the Holes tab add spaces in the mesh which can make the splash look more unique. The Transform tab has an option to activate a locator, which allows you to move, rotate and scale the splash. You can use the other options in this tab to twist, pull and compress the mesh to achieve a more desired shape. The Drops tab is responsible for the random positioning of the drops that come with the preset curves, or copies of those curves that you're editing to create your own splash shape. And you can enable additional drops with the Extra Drops tab, which will add even more realism to your splash. Here you can adjust droplet size, position and droplet density. If you connect your object to the assembly, drops will be positioned according to its height. You can also remove drops from inside or from bottom to top with the parameters Remove Inside and Remove Up respectively. If you need to have the drops as a mesh, you can convert them with the Drops to Mesh option. They can then be found in the Drops RLS layer. In the Ripples tab, you can add some radial waves for even more realism. Once you're happy with your settings, have fun rendering. You can keep editing and tweaking the results until you have the perfect splash.